Welcome to Karana CPQ. Let's take a look at some of the more advanced functions we have in order to manage line items. We're going to look at the data migration line item, and we're going to use this three-dot menu in order to manipulate it. The first option I have available to me is duplicate. If I click that, it'll go ahead and add a new exact copy of this to the bottom of the quote. I'll go ahead and click save. The next option is copy ID. This will be the line item ID for this particular line item from HubSpot. This is useful for troubleshooting. I'm going to skip over version history just briefly, and I'm going to export config. If I click export config, you cannot see the actual file that was downloaded, but you can see that a download took place. This has provided me with a file which saved the configuration that I have for this line item. If I've updated descriptions, I have selected a different source system, I have specific configurations around the parameters on this particular line item, and I want to use that as a future template. I can use that export function in order to save a copy of that to file, and then I can use the three-dot menu at the top here at the quote level in order to import that file. I'm going to go ahead and just select that, and you can see that it has pulled back from the file the individual configurations that I have. It does not have a price because the price will go through the price resolution engine, but we can see that we have 4 selected components, and it will create a new line item when this gets imported. This allows you as an individual salesperson to maintain a library of line items that are configured in the way that you like them to be configured, and then use those as starting points or templates when you start a new quote. This does not need to be configured at the company level. This can be done at the individual user level. You will still need to use the company's product library and the company's price books. So this does not give you complete freedom. It does not get you around the control measures that a CPQ puts in place, but it does allow you to save some time and save a pre-built configuration for a line item and then load that back into the CPQ for later use. I think over time, you're likely to end up with a relatively extensive library of these, and there may even be some sense in sharing those within individual teams so that they start from a similar base. Let's look at the other options we have available here. If I go ahead and I make a change to this line item over here, we can see that we have one unsaved change, and clicking the three-dot menu, we now have some additional options in here. The first one is we have save now, and the second one is discard changes. Save now will save this individual line item back to HubSpot, but will leave any other altered line items. So if I go down here and I altered that, so we now have 2 unsaved line items. Any other line items would effectively be left as they are. If I click save now over here, you'll see it resolves the save for that particular line item, and we still have one that remains as unsaved. If I go a little bit further down on dealer management, this is the other item that I had updated. If I click discard, it'll remove the changes that I just made, and it'll tell me that I no longer need to save because I've reverted back to the previous state. Now let's look at a far more advanced feature that we have within Karana CPQ, and that is version history at the individual line item level. Again, I'm going to use my three-dot menu over here, and I'm going to go to version history. This is going to load up all the versions, all the configurations that I've had in the past for this particular line item on this particular quote. These will only get minted when a change has been made and I have saved to HubSpot. So making what if changes and not saving to HubSpot will not result in a new version being saved. But this allows me to now look at how this is configured. So if I click on V4, the current version, we can see $31,360, 8 weeks, and we can see the components that were selected. If I click down to V3, we can see that we have a similar price, but I believe that what we changed was, there we go. We changed complexity tier. So the latest one has a complexity tier of high. The previous one had a complexity tier of medium. Continuing further down, we can see that we had fewer components selected. And moving further down, we can see we had even fewer components selected. I can load any of these back into the editor. So if I click load editable item here, it's going to pull this up and allow me to update my quote from this. So I can go ahead and click update and it'll apply those changes back onto my line item. So I can not only load this back into view what the configuration was, but I can also effectively go back to a previous configuration by using this method. If I go ahead and I look at version history, we'll now have a version 5, which has been restored back to that medium complexity that we had in version 3. And those are the advanced management options that we have at the line item level.